We are very thrilled to welcome back to the program a guest who's been in so many iconic film and television roles. And chances are, if you've turned on the television or went to the movies, you've seen her at some point, I'm sure. I don't know how we can fit all of this life experience into one book, but somehow Miss Ruta Lee has done it. Ruta Lee, welcome to the show.
Dave, I am so happy to share this lovely time with you and your wonderful audience. Thank you for the golden opportunity of saying hello to so many friends, I hope. I always say I don't make fans, I make friends, and hopefully that continues to be the case.
I think it did. You know, the last time you were on, we got so many great responses, especially regarding the title of your book. And it's something that I can say on the internet, but for radio purposes, I'm sure they'll bleep me out. But the book is Consider Your Ass Kissed.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, in full sincerity, when I say consider your ass kissed, I love your generosity of spirit, of pocketbook, of whatever it takes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Fantastic. You know, the first time that we spoke, we talked a bit about your misadventures at the candy counter at the Grauman's Chinese Theater, and also some of your iconic film roles, but you had said something in passing, and I always meant to follow it up. You said that Burns and Allen gave you your big break?
Well, my big break in that I believe that it was Burns and Allen and that show that signed me on and was willing to back me to get my Screen Actors Guild card. Now, that's very important if you're in our industry. You know, you have to belong to the union. And so the first few jobs I think I did gratis, you know, where they let you come in and just sort of get your feet wet working. And I think one of those was Superman, and the other one I think was the Roy Rogers show. I frankly don't remember in which order they came, but Burns and Allen was very important to me because it was a major television show at the time in the early 50s, and it led to other things, thank God. And you know, the nice part was that both George and Gracie sort of took me a little bit under their wing in a way, and I would get invited, even though I was a teenager, to their very smart, chic cocktail parties and dinner parties and whatnot that they would have around their pool on their Maple Drive home in Beverly Hills. And I thought I'd died and gone to heaven, which I had. And I never realized just how lucky I was. That's the whole point. When you're young and stupid, you know very little about how this will not last, so enjoy every single second of it.
Now, in that rarefied air of a Burns and Allen cocktail party, and you being so young, were you somewhat intimidated by that, or were you, enjoying everything with wide-eyed wonder?
I was never intimidated. I think I came out of my mother's womb singing and dancing and seeking applause, because it was thanks to my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Jackson, who said to my mom, Mary, she's different from the rest of our kids. Maybe she said I was more show-offish, I don't know. But she said, give her lessons, give her some music lessons, give her some dance lessons, give her something. And thank God my mom and dad, who worked very hard for any penny they ever earned, were not afraid to spend it on lessons for me. So I'm very grateful for my entire career to Mrs. Jackson, who started the ball rolling.
Now, in The Adventures of Superman, another very, very early role, you learned a valuable lesson on that.
Oh, boy, did I. Don't muck with the unions is what I learned. And the reason I learned it was that there I was supposed to jitterbug with some guy whose name I can't remember now, and I said, it's lunchtime, why don't we practice what we're going to do? Let's rehearse. And there was a record player sitting on the set that we were on, and so I grabbed the plug and stuck it into a circuit somewhere, And the next thing I knew, I had a smack across my hand, and little lady, don't you touch that, we'll have you thrown out. You're never supposed to do somebody else's work. This belongs to an electrician. Holy mackerel, did I learn. And I learned fast and furiously, don't mess in anybody else's business. And just plugging the machine in to rehearse, it was no excuse.
That jitterbugging may have come in handy in the film Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I'm not... But your experience on that?
Not the jitterbugging. When I went in for the audition, Michael Kidd was the incredible choreographer. I mean, he had done Guys and Dolls on Broadway. He had also done a lot of movies at MGM. And he was the choreographer, and our wonderful director, Stanley Donen, asked me to do a little ballet, which I did. I was fairly good at that. And then they asked me to do something a little jazzy, so I did a little bit of that. And then they said, well, can you do something a little folksy? Well, hell's bells. Jitterbug my foot. It was a polka, a good Lithuanian polka. So whether you're German, Lithuanian, Russian, Polish, whatever, that polka is essential to your upbringing. So I polka'd up a storm, and I don't know whether it was my polka or my mother dropping on her knees in the church across the street from the casting department and praying. One of the two or both got me the job.
Like so many other classic films you appeared in, we talked about Witness for the Prosecution, obviously Sergeants 3, and juggling film work and television work. It seems to me that, what did you get, like 3 hours of sleep a day? Because you're so busy during that period.
Thank you. I was busy during that period, but the busy time was, it's a wonder that I ever got out of high school, because while I was in high school, I had gotten a job working in the chorus of a musical at a little theater, the Gallery Stage, which became quite prominent. And so I'd go home from school, I'd grab a bite, run down to rehearsal for whatever next play was coming up, do the show that night, maybe rehearse again after the show, and then get up in the morning to go to school at 7 o'clock. It's a wonder that I ever made it out of high school. And do you know that because I went to Hollywood High, we graduated out of the Hollywood Bowl? How do you like them apples?
So burning the candle at both ends was in your blood.
It was. Yeah. It was. I really had a wild experience that I write about in the book, in Consider Your Ass Kissed. I write about how when I was doing Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn and the glorious Fred Astaire and Kay Thompson, I was going to the set every morning at like 5:30 or 6 for 6 o'clock makeup, and then 8 o'clock you're on the set. And at the same time, I got a wonderful break as one of the principals in Kiss Me Kate. I was playing Lois or Bianca. So during most of the time, it was an hour's drive, but I'd drive to rehearsals and drive back. And it was tough, but I was young and resilient. And opening night of Kiss Me Kate in San Bernardino, I'm still on the set at Paramount at 6 o'clock, and opening curtain is at 8 o'clock, at least an hour to an hour and a half's drive away.
Oh, my goodness.
And I am almost in tears. I don't know whether to cry, wet my pants, faint, what to do. And I was in no position, I was no big star to be able to go and say, I've got to go now, please consider this the rest of the shoot for today. And I somehow got out of there at about 7 o'clock. And I called the producers at San Bernardino at the Civic Light Opera, and I said, I'm on my way. I'll get there as fast as I can. Hold the curtain, do something. They had, God bless them, the sheriff's department pick me up at the county line where L.A. County joined San Bernardino County and took me under sirens into the stage. And as I put in the book, some people get nervous about going on stage. I was nervous about getting to the damn stage. I was never so shook up in my life trying to put on my makeup over makeup in the car. Oh, what a fiasco, but amazingly enough, it went well. Good reviews, and I made it to work the next day anyway.
So many great stories in this book by our guest today, Ruta Lee. You know, when you're doing a show, and you're doing so many different television shows, when you're doing a show like The Twilight Zone, are you aware at the time that you're doing something that's a little unique and special and might have some legs and last, like that episode has?
I don't think anybody ever realizes that one thing is more special than another. I think most actors are very happy to be working in whatever, wherever, whenever it's provided, that each time you bring, you hope, something special to what you're doing. Now, sometimes the writing is there. The words are glorious coming out of your mouth. Sometimes they fit beautifully. Other times you have to really work hard to make them yours and be suitable to what's going on. But that Twilight Zone that you mentioned was one of my very favorite roles, and something so sweet happened on that one. It was shot at MGM, and applause after one scene came on like crazy from all around the set. And from way up in the catwalks, from the guys that are holding the lights on everything, came, "Hey, Ruta, we love you." And I yelled back, "Well, I love you too, thank you." And they said, "You remind us of our favorite ever, Carole Lombard."
Oh.
And I said, "Holy mackerel, what a lovely gift you've just given me, gentlemen, to just even think of me in the same breath as wonderful Carole Lombard." Now, most of your audience probably won't even remember who Carole Lombard was, but she was married to Clark Gable.
Yeah.
Does that help?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we know.
Beautiful, beautiful actress.
Oh, I knew you were old, Harmon. I just didn't know how old. You better be careful, Big Daddy, because if you ever take me to a swinging weekend in Egypt, I just may run away with a mummy.
You appeared in so many episodes of Perry Mason that you could almost be considered one of the principals on that program. You were on it so many times. Was that a wonderful experience? Were you happy to go back over and over again?
Oh, Lord, yes. And to this day, I am grateful to Gail Patrick Jackson, who was the producer. Now, if you will remember, she was a big star in the 30s and the 40s into the 50s. And a beautiful actress, gorgeous brunette. And she gave up being a leading lady and became one of the early female producers. That was a rare thing, and it was quite something. And here was a beautiful woman who did not worry about having cute young things around her. And she hired me many times to play many different roles. And sometimes I was a hooker with the golden teeth to match. Sometimes I was a sweet little girl who'd lost her child. Sometimes I was a dope addict. I played lots of different roles. And once I was even the murderess, and that was great fun. The bad girls are always much more fun to play.
Sure.
But there was another lady that included me in some of her little parties at home or cocktails or whatever. And I always felt so honored and thrilled. And, you know, I never did answer your question properly. I was never thunderstruck by everybody around me. I just sort of felt like, oh, this is going to be happening all the time. It doesn't happen all the time. And boy, do I appreciate the times that it did happen now, in retrospect.
It's all my fault, Mr. Mason. You have to believe that. If it weren't for me, Mary Kay wouldn't have known anything about the book or the doctor. Oh, like a fool, I told her everything.
Did you know about this? Where were you around 6:30 last night?
When we spoke, I guess about a year and a half ago, I don't think I asked you about this organization that you're a part of, and you'll forgive me if I mispronounce the name of it. Is it the Thalians? Is that...
It is. You pronounced it
good.
Beautifully. You're one of the few people that do. Thalia, for yours and everybody else's information, was one of the Greek goddesses, a muse, and she was the goddess of comedy. And she also took care of straying lambs. So it seemed very appropriate that when this group of young Hollywood people got put together, they were young people who got tired of being called hard-drinking, pot-smoking, sex-minded idiots that had nothing to contribute to society, generally as young actors and in allied fields, agents, producers, etc. And they decided, we get together and hang out around the piano and sing and have a few drinks. Why don't we put something together, sell a few tickets, and raise money for a worthwhile charity? So they sent out Mamie Van Doren and Jane Mansfield. Now, you want to talk about bosom size? Holy mackerel, watermelons, not peaches or grapefruit, watermelons. Both of them. And they went out and shopped around. They sent them out to find us a good charity, and they came back and said, well, all the good diseases have been taken, so the only thing left that they found was perfect. A doctor who dealt with emotionally disturbed children. So the Thalians was formed. We started raising money by doing great big, huge events, all-star events, sometimes parodies of movies, sometimes just plain, comedy musical shows, with every star in town doing walk-ons and working in the chorus to raise funds. And 18 years later, we built our Thalians Community Mental Health Center, which dealt with pediatric through geriatric patients and cases in medicine, in remedying them, and in research. And then some 50 years later, actually 55 years later, almost 60, we said, we're missing the boat on something. What we're missing is that our returning veterans who are willing to put their lives on the line anywhere in the world that we send them, come back and don't get the best that America has to offer in many cases, but really fall through the cracks, especially when it comes to mental health. They come back injured and flawed, and they're not getting the kind of help they need. So we switched our allegiance and our focus, and as for years we had been shining a Hollywood spotlight on that dark abyss known as mental illness. That's been the closet disease all along. Nobody ever wanted to talk about it in the family or anywhere. And we said, we've got to shine a Hollywood spotlight on the mental health of our returning veterans. So we joined up with UCLA's Operation Mend, and OpMend heals the broken and fractured bodies of these beautiful young people, whereas we Thalians try to heal the broken mind and spirit of these beautiful young men and women. And so I will beg every one of your listeners, God love you, if you have a few dollars that you can spare, please, whether it's $5 or $50 or $500,000, go to the Thalians, THALIANS.org, and you'll get a message from my partner in crime, Debbie Reynolds, and myself. We were the Mother Superiors for 55 years. And let me just say in advance, because you are so generous and loving, consider your kissed.
Well, it's truly remarkable work, and certainly, a worthy cause. And I do get a kick out of the idea that the original Lewis and Clark of the Thalians were Mamie Van Doren and Jane Mansfield going
Isn't
out.
that hysterical? Can you imagine anybody turning them down?
Exactly. And connected with the Thalians, and I wanted to close on this if I could. Can you tell us a little bit about Lucille Ball?
Oh, my God. Have we got 8 hours to even begin? Lucy, of course, became one of my very dearest and most meaningful friends. And what I loved about her, I loved working with her because she was a great taskmaster. And I write about this in the book. She would brook no foolishness on the set. However, the minute the cameras weren't rolling, then all bedlam would break loose. It was just great fun. But she was so generous in her time and her energy. I asked her many times. I asked her to be our honoree for the Thalians. I asked her to be our honorary chairman for the City of Hope when I was doing something. And she came and she did, and I did a lot of her shows. And oh my God, I'm so grateful to her. And one of the things that I really loved is that I had a huge collection of wonderful costume jewelry. Great big pieces, lovely. And she loved them. And she'd say, I'm going to New York and I need that piece that you wore. Can I borrow it? And then she'd forget to give it back to me. And I'd have to call her and say, hey, redhead, listen, can I borrow back what you borrowed from me?
All of these wonderful stories in the book, the new book, Consider Your Kissed, which I'm guessing that if people go on the internet and maybe Amazon or the publisher's website, and they can
I'm number 2 on Amazon for new releases. Number 1 is my very good friend Linda Hope, who writes a lot of stuff about Bob Hope.
Oh, yes.
So I could learn to dislike her for being number 1, but that's okay. Amazon.com. I'm also available at Barnes & Noble. Of course, I have a thing about go to your local bookstore and order it.
Right.
Keep those poor people in business.
It's a great thrill again to speak with you, and I want to pass along a salutations from a mutual friend, Will Hutchins, who just turned 91 a few weeks ago.
Oh, God bless him. Oh, I did several Sugarfoots with him.
And he wanted to say hello, and he's excited to hear you today. So, again, it was a pleasure, and I think, now, I know this book just came out, but I think that you might have enough material for a sequel at some point.
Without a doubt. I've had too much, and it woke me up to what I didn't say. And I gave very short shrift to the story of my grandmother and getting her out of the Soviet Union, out of Siberia, etc. And I think that deserves a book on its own, and we'll talk about that the next time around. In the meantime, my darling friend, thank you for being such a friend to me, and thank you for caring and sharing your audience with me, Dave. May God keep smiling on you, and please, dear God, keep smiling on America. We need it.
Oh, my goodness. You know, we love you so much. Thank you for being on the program today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. God bless you all.
My girl.